I want to go and expose the virus in the right amount, in a way that my body can take it in to fight it off, and overcome it and build immunity. I'm used to sitting at home right now in 3 weeks quarantine, something that I don't have in my body. I'd rather be doing it, overcoming this thing, and come out and I can actually help society get on and the economy get on. This idea is freaking people out, guys. I can't believe how freaked out people by this. And it's not for them, it's my risk.
Yeah.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another podcast with Life with AJ Fenter. Today, I've got two guests on my podcast. The first one is a dear friend of mine, a local farmer from Ballito called Nick Jordan. Nick is one of those guys, a very intellectual guy. He is someone that really thinks about any problem or any challenge or approach it from many angles before he makes decisions. And I've always liked discussing things with him. And secondly, we've got Allan Kleinhans. Allan is a long-standing friend of mine. Allan lives in the UK. He speaks to many people on a daily basis all around the world. He's a life coach. And Allan used to be the Sharks motivational guy when I was playing for the Sharks years ago. So we discuss a few things from the COVID-19 all the way to how people should think about this in their minds, how they should react about things that you can't control and can't control. So with no further ado, please enjoy my podcast with Nick and Allan. Nick, what are those stats, by the way, now? What are the...
I actually don't know. As far as I know, the latest stats that I've got, which might be a day old, was 1,300 ill, 3 deaths. One was a pulmonary embolism. One was an LD doctor with cancer, and one was a blood clot. Is that the same thing as a pulmonary embolism?
Yes,
Only if those two have got mixed up. But 3 people have died, and actually they've died from underlying causes. I mean, up until 4 days ago, there were only 2 people in ICU.
Okay, but I also think those numbers are. I think they're skewed. Firstly, because there's no way the infection numbers that we've got are the real numbers, because we just don't have the ability to test everyone. Firstly, I'm assuming that there's many cases, positive cases already, and I don't know how truthful even the death stats are.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, I saw something online yesterday, and obviously you've always got to take what you read on Facebook with a pinch of salt, if not more, but about people that have been, apparently people are saying that people that are dying from things like, cardiac arrest or, heart disease, etc., or pneumonia or something like that, obviously they're just they're just attributing it to COVID-19. So
that's exactly right.
The accuracy of that is being called into question, and it's I suppose there's always whenever there's some smoke, there's always fire, and it's just interesting. It's one person actually said, well, who's keeping a tally of all these deaths, globally, and how accurate is that tally? And it is interesting, when people start looking at when the whole thing about this conspiracy, all these conspiracy theories and all this come into the conversation, it does, sometimes you have to pause and think, it's very interesting.
Guys, these are the things we're going to talk about on the thing. Have we started yet?
Go for it.
Oh, is this podcast started?
This is it.
Yeah. Well,
I thought you were going to have like
started recording
or something.
Guys, my podcast, it's real, it's easy. This is the way we talk.
Okay, so Allan, I've got to pick you up there. So what I've learned from this thing, and again, I'm like you. I read things and I apply a whole lot of touch of like logic as much as I can in my mind to work out if they are bullshit or if they are accurate. And it's normally quite easy to work out someone who's got a conspiracy theory, which is 9 times out of 10 rubbish, versus someone who's actually laying down very balanced facts, that sort of thing. So I try and sort through the chaff,
Yeah.
But this is.
You'll come
Nick,
back
you
now.
froze.
You'll come back now. He's on the farm.
Okay. Where does Nick live?
We've got the numbers there are on a farm outside Belito.
Okay,
cool.
we just lost you a little bit there. So just start again with the conspiracy theory just after that.
Okay, so the conspiracy theories are normally nonsense, but you can read through and you can see logical argument and someone who's quoting pretty good facts and that sort of thing. And even having a doctor's name being quoted in there, I think quite often there are also doctors who are nuts, just like any other profession.
Yes.
But what I have read is that anything that is COVID gets marked down as a COVID death. Anyone who dies who's got COVID is marked down as a COVID death. But that guy could have had a heart attack. And so our first 3 deaths, as I understand it, were one lady had a blood clot in her lung, which was the cause of her demise. Another man was a 76-year-old person with cancer. But they're marked as COVID deaths. So our first 2 deaths are COVID. But there's an argument that those people would have died anyway in the next year. And there's an article in the I think it's either in the New Yorker or one of the magazines I read, and I can put the links on to my sort of top 4 articles I read on this thing at the end of this podcast for you, AJ, where they're saying that the representing is wrong. There are people dying every day from all sorts of things. If they happen to have COVID at the time, that's now another statistic for us, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting. And there's so many.
So where is it? Where's the facts from the sort of hype about this thing? That's what we need to work out.
Yeah, for sure. There's so many conflicting opinions, and even amongst medical staff, you know, listen to one doctor, they say one thing, and listen to another doctor, says something else. But yeah, it's what's fascinating me more than anything is just the reaction to this the global reaction and the fear. You know, how the fears grip people, and to the point where some people are terrified, you know, to even go anywhere near another person, you know, and you know, you can't contract this thing if you're standing next to someone unless they sneeze on you, unless they sneeze and it goes in, you absorb it or you inhale it or whatever, or you touch this, touch it and then touch your own face or your own eyes or nose or mouth, etc. The human body is such a fascinating piece of equipment. It naturally knows what to do to eject toxins, and so when we get ill, what we've done for the longest time in terms of medicines is that when people get ill, the first thing they want to do is take a tablet or they want to take some medicine. And really what the body's trying to do is trying to eject or trying to rid itself of toxins, because we're building up toxins all the time by the things we're absorbing, by the stuff we eat, by the cleaning materials in our homes, all the chemicals that are added to our foods and to, our shampoos, our body washes, everything's got chemicals in it, right? So the body over a period of time, it knows what to do. And then, what happens is when we get the common cold or something like that, the body's actually ejecting. It wants to get rid of toxins. And, at that moment, I always say to people, the last thing you want to do is take medicine because you're suppressing that, and it's going to come out in some other way, shape or form. We definitely challenge right now in terms of what's going on around the world. But really the fear is what's going to cause the biggest problem for people because it lowers the immune system immediately, and the body knows exactly what to do to protect itself. I want to pick up on that thread. I think that to me is the most profound thing that is happening right now. I think there's an incredible amount of fear that's out there, and it's all because it's unknown. No one really knows. What we're going through is totally unprecedented. And let's be honest, I'm pretty optimistic and / hopeful that we're going to work this thing out, and in 3 months' time we'll look back and go, what the hell was that all about? Yeah. But it could just as easily go the other way. This could be a catastrophe that changes the world entirely as you know it. So we're unknown. But I think that the fear that people have at home, and I'll put on some fairly positive posts on Facebook and that sort of thing, sharing my ideas, which are a little bit out there. And guys are literally like, I've literally been for the first time in life Facebook stalked by a couple of old school friends who are desperately trying to persuade me otherwise. And I'm trying to explain to them like my theory, which I'll come to a little bit later in this chat, doesn't affect them. It's like entirely about exposing myself to risk and then exactly quarantining myself so that no one else will be impacted, actually for the great good. But they think that it's just the most inconceivable concept that well, let me touch it down. So my idea is that I think those healthy people who are prepared to take the risk should be self-inoculating with this virus. 250 years ago in the East, in India and in China, with the smallpox, they used to take the scabs of the smallpox off patients
They used to grind them up into a powder, and they would inoculate children's nostrils with it, or they'd put it in a cut in a person's body, with the result that the person got very, very mild. By and large, bear note, this is not a medical calculated procedure. So by and large, those people would show very mild to no symptoms, but they would develop an immunity for smallpox. Yeah. And that was a big factor in getting rid of the smallpox epidemic at the times. Obviously, along the way, you get these kind of vagaries where a little bit too much is put in, or something's a bit strong, or something doesn't work out in the person's resistance, and it goes wrong. But it was way better than the result. Now, my proposal is that we should be doing the same thing with this virus. I want to go and expose the virus in the right amount, in a way that my body can take it in to fight it off, and overcome it and build immunity. I'm used to sitting at home right now in 3 weeks quarantine, something that I don't have in my body. I'd rather be doing it, overcoming this thing, and come out and I can actually help society get on and the economy get on. This idea is freaking people out, guys. I can't believe how freaked out people by this. And it's not for them, it's my risk.
Yeah. It's well, I think that my personal belief is that if you're healthy, then, and actually I'm just thinking about what I heard Graham Codrington say. I don't know if you guys know Graham Codrington, or you follow him. He's in South Africa, and he posted something recently on Facebook saying, listen, at some point you're going to get this, right? Because it's going to be like it's a strain of flu, right? It's like a cold, right? At some point you're going to get it. And a lot of people won't even know they've got it, because it'll just be like a cold. It'll be very mild in the way it attacks the body, because if you're healthy and you've got a healthy immune system, it's not going to affect you. But the people that are at the greatest risk right now, as we're seeing, are the people that are elderly, the elderly people, the people that haven't really looked after themselves in terms of health. There's people that suddenly they're recognizing that health is the most important thing, but they've neglected it for such a long time. So, and then it's also people that are, that haven't really developed a strong mental outlook, So anybody who's susceptible to this is, it's going to be them. And without, I don't want to say it's not, it's not I don't want to be derogatory in any way, but it's the weaker amongst our population, right? That's the fact of the matter. It's like nature. Nature, if you look at nature eliminates the weakest part of, it eliminates the weaker species, or the weaker members of any species. If you look at the animals, what do? They always attack the weaker animals, right? Because they're the easiest ones. So it's interesting. So if you're healthy and fit, I don't think I think you'll be all right. I don't think you really get it. And then, I don't think that we should be fearful about going outside and interacting with each other. There's, I think, is it in one of the countries, I mean, don't quote me here, but I might be mistaken, but I think I heard one of the European countries are encouraging people to go out and etc. to get it, so they can actually build that immunity inside themselves, like you're saying.
I think it's Norway or one of those countries.
Sweden. And Holland to a less extent, but very much in Sweden, it's life as usual, but with social distancing.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: if you're a lawmaker or if you're a government, and number one, of course you've got to run the country, but there is no doubt in my mind that these people that are in charge, especially our country and most countries, this now is. It's a platform to show what you can do, right? And the question is, do you save lives or do you save the economy? So I'm listening to you and I'm going, there's the herd immunity. With the herd immunity, you've got workers out there going on, there's going to be deaths. And the other way around, you're going to save possibly a little bit more lives, but your economy is dying.
AJ, there's another thing, and there's another very good article which I read. I think it was in the Mail and Guardian, an opinion piece on. So here's the problem: we have this visual of people trying to get ICU beds and not enough beds, and the doctors are sitting there saying, "Do something about this. Stop bringing these people to us," because we now starting to have to choose who we can treat and who we can't. That's all good and well in the European context, where there's so much facilities there, there's such greater capacity. In Africa, our beds were full before this thing, pretty much full. I'm not going to say they were totally full. They were pretty much full before this thing even broke out. That doesn't even get a luxury we get to choose here. But still, you got this visual of these people who are sick at the door, desperate for treatment. The doctors are saying, slow it down, help us here. We need to treat these people. What they're not seeing is the economic impact and the health impact and the deaths that will be affected by this thing further down the road. What happens? So the average, the people in South Africa who survive on so little money, and the 30% unemployed, I mean, it's inconceivable. 30% of our population are unemployed. They don't have bank accounts that they can tap into for 2 months or 3 months while they get money for food. They are literally at the end of 3 weeks going to go starving. And the support system is the one person who works probably supports 5 people in their family for food. That guy loses their food, the whole support system collapses. So you got the invisible deaths, you got the invisible impact. This thing in my mind has to be a multi-pronged thing. I think that you've got to get the herd immunity. You've got to actually promote herd immunity, which is where my little plug-in of, even if 20% of the population say, go for it, guys, let's go and get this thing, and let's not be carriers through society and this thing. Let's stop spreading this thing to the vulnerable people amongst us, the elderly and the immune-suppressed HIV, TB people, which we believe is a massive impact here. And build up that herd immunity a little bit faster, because the problem is now it's so random. Right now, if I go shopping, I randomly could get it. I randomly could come home. I've got an 86-year-old mother who lives in a cottage next door to me. I accidentally will give it to her or give it to her helpers or who knows? It's a lottery. It's an absolute lottery. And it's, how do you make plans on a lottery? Rather we go out, we build our herd immunity as fast as we can by encouraging people to do these sort of things. But we've got to keep that economy going. And that is the most important thing, because people are just going to die from a different cause to COVID later on.
So what about?
Are they going to put?
Yeah. So what about this?
Yeah.
There's another, and we've spoken about this as well before. What about isolating the vulnerable? So elderly, people with TB, whatever those illnesses are that makes you a risk. Isolating those people, make sure that they stay safe, and the rest of the people keep on going on with their normal day lives, keep the economy going, and like you say, then indirectly, that's basically like herd immunity, isn't it? So keeping those people that are vulnerable out from the start, that would have possibly been another way to look at it.
Absolutely. To me, that's that multi-pronged approach. So that's one of the prongs of the approach, is the vulnerable ones are put in cotton wool. We put all, you and myself, I don't know if you're on lockdown. Allan, are you in lockdown in the UK then?
Yes, we are, yeah.
Yeah. So we are perfectly healthy, able-bodied people. I've chatted to you, AJ. You quite like the idea of also getting this thing early, as I did. We are able-bodied. We are spending 3 weeks of effort for no reward. We've got to still go out there and get exposed and get it we will. That's what we're told. We are almost certainly going to get it, but at some random, unforeseen period or time. It's got to be multi-pronged. Hire those people, put them away. Get other people out there working and get other people, another tranche of people who are willing to do it. There won't be many, actually, to get immune. So think about the people who look after old age homes. They've got to go shopping. They never know when they're going to get exposed. Imagine if you took a third of those people right now who were willing and they volunteered and they got themselves inoculated. It's inoculated with the virus. Go into quarantine for 3 weeks, strict quarantine, knowing they've got the virus. So there's now the randomness or the risk is taken away. And then they go back and they actually can go and care for these people while the next third can go do the same thing, or the next third take their chances if they're not willing to be exposed. But at least there's a protection mechanism around this quarantine for the vulnerable.
You see,
it's bizarre. No one seems to like this idea, but to me, it's so obvious.
No, but I understand it. But in my mind, Allan, maybe you can come in here. But for me, as humans, we think about ourselves all the time. We think about, more than 99% of us think about myself first. How can I stay safe? How can I be good? So what you're talking about is like we've spoken about this. I love it, but it's out there. And it's so dangerous for people in their minds. And that basically, as we started this conversation, comes back to what we are told on social media, what we are told in the news. We've been pounded by this thing. Of course, there are people dying. It is risky. But for people to do this, that's in their minds. It's like taking a gun and going, that's what they see.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can use it, before you kick in the Allan, someone said to me on Facebook yesterday, would you take play Russian roulette with 100 bullets, and sorry, 100 times and one bullet is live? That's exactly the analogy he used. He said, would you do that? And I said, I don't believe the odds are that bad, but I would do it. I would do it. I think that by managing it carefully, I would actually make the odds 2,000 to 1, and I'd be prepared to take that risk because I'm confident. And I believe up here is where my health and my cure is going to come from. But Allan, you can talk better about that than me.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think I always say to people that everything rests on your belief system. I don't subscribe to the belief that we all going to get it, or that because I don't think I'm going to get it. I believe that I'm not going to get it. I believe that I'm healthy and fit, and I take measures to make sure that I stay healthy and fit, and especially with my mind. I'm one of those people that is an anti-vaxxer. I didn't vaccine my kids, because I refuse to allow somebody to put a needle straight into my kids' blood system when they were born, and pump them full of all kinds of shit, all kinds of chemicals that they said would protect them later on in life. I thought, no, I don't agree with that. And my kids are healthy; they're never sick. I know there's a big argument now here online. You see people talking about this all the time now in terms of the vaccine that they're going to be creating, etc., and what they're going to be putting in it. That's another story. But I think really your belief system is so powerful, because whatever you believe becomes true for you. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you believe, and I agree with you, like your health is right here, comes from your health and your cure comes from between your ears. What you're thinking about, what you believe is going to be true for you. And that's the most important thing, because that, again, if you don't have a healthy belief system, then what happens is you are more susceptible to uncertainty, and uncertainty is something that erodes, it erodes people physically and mentally and emotionally, in a very insidious way, in a very subtle fashion. If people have not got an internal certainty and a real strong stance on their own belief system, then really they're going to be susceptible to uncertainty that's around them. And that's what's happening right now. People are buying into all kinds of, opinions online. People are arguing with each other online. I happened to see a video yesterday of somebody that posted something about, the basics of viral, how we transmit viruses and viruses. And there was this conversation, and people were arguing with each other online, saying about this is not true, and trying to just being very mean to each other. And I was thinking, well, that is a typical example of people's uncertainty, rather than because if you're uncertain, and anxiety, you're going to act out of your fear, and you're going to jump to all kinds of conclusions. And if somebody gives you an opinion about something else, if your uncertainty is, if you don't have a rock solid certainty in your own belief system, then you'll find that you'll feel attacked by that, rather than saying, wow, that's someone else's opinion. Let me just think for a second and see if there's any validity in that opinion, rather than thinking this person's attacking me, and that's what's happening now online, which is a real shame. So it comes back down, or everything comes back down to your own internal dialogue, your own internal narrative. When I heard about this a couple of weeks ago, when this first started to break a few weeks ago, the very first thing I put online was I stayed off social media by choice for a while, because I was just curious to see what was going to happen. And I was in America at the time, and I had to come back early. I was out there for a conference, and I had to come back early because of what was happening, because they had called off the conference. And I stayed off social media for a while by choice, but I put one image on social media of me speaking with a couple of lines saying, the only thing that we have to fear is fear itself. Because fear is, the worst of all pandemics, and it spreads faster than any virus or any illness. If you look at what happened with AIDS, so many years ago, and how many millions of people have died, tens of millions of people have died from AIDS. We don't really talk about that anymore. But the fear of that spreads so powerfully too, right? And this has happened so many times in the past. And that's what's really going to hurt people the most, And what people have to do is they have to recognize that actually, first and foremost, you have to take care of what's happening inside your own head. How you reacting to this, what's going on, and what's your own personal, view about yourself and your ability to stay strong and stay healthy. Because if you're generally healthy, you're going to be okay. If you're generally healthy, if you haven't been looking after yourself, if you haven't been eating well or exercising on a regular basis, or looking after your mindset, and then really you're much more easily affected, by anything, not just this, by anything, right? By the common cold, by flu. You have people who are ill every single year, and they say I'm ill every single year, and I say, well, you don't have to be ill every single year. You just change a few things, and you won't get ill. People don't really recognize that. They don't recognize they have that ability within themselves, right, to really create their experience. And that's what I find interesting right now, is that this is a really good lesson for people. We are being forced right now globally to really look at what's important, right, and to really look at ourselves inside and the way we react to life, the way we respond to life. This is COVID-19. This coronavirus is like the vice that's squeezing us, and then the cracks that are already there are going to widen. In relationship, whether it's a relationship with another person or relationship with yourself or relationship with your kids. If you haven't done the work, then those cracks will be obvious. It's like being squeezed right now. What's coming out of you? Is it fear, or is it certainty? Is it love? Is it compassion? Is it uncertainty or anger or frustration? So yeah, it's interesting, really interesting to see what's happening with people individually and globally.
Yeah. So
I feel really,
Nick, I just want to jump in here quickly. So, I mean, both of you know my story in depth, and so a few things you said now just again hit home. So when I was going through my anxiety and the stress a few years ago, at the time I was training as hard as I can. I was doing gym. I was eating well, man. I was almost living a healthier life than I was before. And because of the stress, because of this thing, me watching social media, watching news, listening to people being naysayers, and all the other stuff that was bothering me. Nick will remember, I mean, when I played rugby, I weighed 116 kilograms. By the end of it, I weighed 94. 2.5 years ago, I weighed 94 kilograms. And it's not because I didn't eat healthy. It was literally because this thing affected my physique. My mindset affected this body negatively. And so that's exactly what you were saying. Not taking away from the severity of this COVID-19. We understand what it is, but we can help ourselves and the people around us by not falling in the trap of just listening to every false piece of news that comes out. Choose the data that you allow into your mind, right? So that's, for me, it's such a good point.
Yeah.
Geez, guys, it's
all of your mind, definitely.
It's massive, and you're exactly right, AJ. And right now, every single person, literally every single person, put it this way, anyone who's got internet access is 100% affected, and obviously going and digging deeper into this thing and looking at it. And if all we're exposing ourselves to, no one's going and reporting on the what is the number, the latest number, 350,000 people who survived this thing, because those aren't exciting stories. They go and film the people in ICU who are in desperately bad condition. And probably you'll find there from the numbers I read, 95% of them got underlying conditions. And I'm not saying there's not every single person who dies has not, or the other way around, that there's not a couple of people in there who didn't expect to, who shouldn't be there, put it that way. But if you read that, and I use another analogy, I said, imagine if we spent 3 weeks studying car crash ICU cases and film footage of people crashing and that sort of thing. And that's all we ever filmed. And it looked like every single car that ever went on the road crashed. We would never get on the road again. But the fact is, statistically, it's a minuscule chance that thing goes wrong and that we end up in that situation. So we're all happy to drive on the roads because it's the new normal. This is the new normal now. Imagine if they followed flu victims who ended up in hospitals. And I think, I can't dig out the numbers, but if you go Google it, you'll see how many people died of the flu last year. Oh, and another note there, by the way. When people die of the flu, they don't say they die of the flu. They record it as pneumonia or bronchitis or a heart attack or something like that. They
Guys,
never,
sorry,
ever write
Nick,
down.
sorry. If it goes down, we just log in again because I've got this 40-minute limit. Sorry, I forgot about that. When there's 3 people, we just all log back in afterwards. Okay.
Oh yeah, it's 9 minutes.
All right. Otherwise, I can invite you, and I've got the thing that goes longer if you want.
That's all right. We can just.
Where was I? Oh yeah. So if you die of the flu in hospital, they put down pneumonia, and they put down all these other causes that cause you to die. In other words, the underlying condition. But with COVID, they put down COVID. So again, the numbers are skewed. You know, some of those people have probably got flu and COVID at the same time, the two combined maybe was a bit much for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, all this negative influence, all this negative exposure, and these people, and you can see some of them online, because I only go in there once in a while and I do these, what I try to do, uplifting, thought-provoking posts to stimulate discussion. They come there and they're literally attacking me, going, hey, no, you can't do this. This is disgraceful. I mean, what are you going to do? People, it's not allowed. You don't know enough about it. You're going to die. I'm going, guys, it's okay. Go look at the positives. There's a whole lot of positive stuff out there. We're going to be okay. Look, way, way, way more people have survived this thing than people have died.
Yeah, for sure. The human race is resilient, and we've survived so many things before. There's so many, when at the time we thought it was all over, but
yeah.
The human race is resilient. The human spirit is resilient, and I think it's important probably to reiterate here for anybody who's watching this, personally, I can't offer any medical advice on this thing, because when I've looked at what's going on, and when I've looked and researched and done the little bit of research I have, there's so many conflicting opinions about it. There's so many different opinions about what's, what this is and how it's unfolding, etc. So, and it's a good reminder for us to recognize that we don't really ever know what's going on, apart from what we fed on the news. And, there's, and again, we must also remember that there's so many things that are going on behind the scenes that we will never ever know about, and the way the world is run, and the agendas behind everything. And we don't want to go down that road. I mean, certainly I don't want to go down that road, but there are agendas. There's always agendas. And I remember many years ago I read when I was doing the research for my children, because I knew I was going to become a father, and I was doing the research on vaccination. I was doing the research because I wanted to make an informed decision based on my own education, not on other people's education who are professionals. I wanted to know for myself. And I came across these two books, and they were both written by these investigative journalists here in the UK that are very, very recognized for their work and have won all kinds of awards. And these two books really just absolutely shocked me to the core about what I was reading, in terms of big pharma, the pharmaceutical industry, and these two books, one of them was called World Without AIDS, and the other one was called Health Wars. And, when you look at the amount of money, in the pharmaceutical industry, and when you look at what most people will never, ever know what's going on behind the scenes, etc., is shocking, right? Shocking. And disgusting, actually. Disgusting.
So do you, and let's go into it if you want, that's up to you. So you're saying there could possibly be things in the background that we don't know about, how this thing might have started.
Well, exactly. Yeah, there is the argument that a lot of people are putting forth, which is that this, that what's happening. Okay, so this is not my personal opinion. I'm just saying what I've done, the reading and the research and the stuff that I've read, etc. There is the argument being put forth by some people that this is a way of diverting people's attention away from more sinister things that are being rolled out around the world, that want to be rolled out, that are going to be rolled out. One of them being 5G. There's been this conversation about 5G for the longest time now. I was sent information, a couple of months ago, and even before that, about the impact and the consequences of 5G, what it's going to do to us. That's one argument. There's the conversation that another conversation that people putting forth that, again, this is a smoke screen to divert people's attention away from the other things that, whatever you want to call it, government or, Big Brother or whatever it is, are trying to roll out that really is going to have a far more detrimental effect on us in the long-term future, but we won't even be aware of it until it's too late. And again, it's
for people that don't know, the 5G is it's the next thing from for 3G and 4G. That's the towers. That's carcinogenic. So if you're close to them, it actually, I actually watched something last night where it actually burns people's skin if you
yes,
close
because
to
it's
certain
like because it's like 100 times more powerful than what we have right now, and it's going to be everywhere, right? And it's going to be on buildings. It's going to be, and it's, that rollout has already started apparently. and a lot of people are saying that rollout, the rollout of that is the real reason why people are getting ill. And again, this is not my personal opinion. And there are people who are going to say, well, that's just bullshit. That's controversy, or it's a controversy theory, or whatever it is. However, what we must remember is that there's far more that's going on than we are led to believe. Always, that's always been the case. That has always been the case in terms of the general population are usually kept in the dark until it's way too late. And we've recognized that in the past. In terms of that whole thing about weapons of mass destruction. With Bush and Blair. And when that came out, then everyone started saying, well, oh my gosh, we were all led down the garden path, because it was just their reason to go after the oil there, right? It had nothing to do with weapons of mass destruction, but again, the reason I'm bringing this up is because there are so many things that create uncertainty for people. And so that's why it's so important to be doing the inner work on a daily basis. You really just be holding fast to your own belief systems, supportive belief systems. There's a very different impact to having a negative belief system as opposed to a positive or an empowering belief system. Because a belief is just an idea that you keep having over and over and over again. It was first an idea, and now it's become like a metal chain in your mindset, right? And because you've had that thought so often, and it's a feeling of certainty. And that's why it's so difficult for people to have a genuine conversation or a debate about different views of opinion, because beliefs come into it so quickly and people feel attacked, and they say, well, I don't believe that, and that's not true, and how dare you say that, rather than saying, okay, cool, I respect your belief, because if I was standing in your shoes, I might see it the same way. But and thank you for sharing that with me. That's a very different way of approaching it. And the person is demonstrating that their belief system is a supportive belief system, to the point where they don't feel attacked. They feel very, very they feel very comfortable and very solid in their own certainty, that they don't feel attacked, that they are willing to entertain another person's opinion. And that's one of the greatest challenges I think that social media has presented since it came about, especially very soon after it came about. It gives people the ability to attack each other very, very quickly online, because they're hiding behind an avatar. They're hiding behind an online persona, so they can really attack each other. And you see the kinds of conversation that people have online about different views or different opinions. They really go for the jugular so quickly, because they take things so personally. And that comes from, in my personal opinion, having studied psychology for so long, it really comes from a lack of certainty. Is when you've got a strong sense of certainty in yourself, you feel secure, right? Then anybody can say anything, and you won't feel attacked, or you won't feel like you have to defend yourself. People who feel they have to defend themselves to the point where they want to attack someone else and go for the jugular directly, go straight for the jugular, it's because they're insecure, in their own outlook.
There's a wonderful saying that describes it as strong opinions held lightly. So I like to think that's, I think the three of us, from the discussion with you guys, that's how we followed. I want to break open this discussion. There's an aspect there too, that you think about these doctors, and they're like you, AJ, you spoke about the politicians earlier. Like, what is the decision that they make? Before lockdown, I was really nervous that he was going to do lockdown. I thought it was entirely the wrong thing for us to do. And then I thought, if I was him, I would have had no choice. You have to take the safe move. You have to play safe. You've got to be able to look back and go, guys, we tried whatever we could do. Whether in the long term it's not, as a leader, you can't go, guys, we're going to be brazen. UK tried it, they got smashed.
It was we were paying attention.
Me too. I was also someone chucked cold water on me, and I lost my place.
That was called that was a pattern interrupt. That when the system went down, it was a massive pattern interrupt. It was so effective that we can't remember what we were saying.
And while you think about that, so the other thing I was thinking about as well is, out of times of crisis or hardship, there's always something good, or people that come out on the other side pretty good and successful. And I'm convinced that in a few years, 2, 3, I don't know that number, we're going to look back and there's going to be some companies born out of this thing and some success stories out of this thing from people that didn't sit back and just thought, okay, well, this is the end of the world. But you'll see those people that had that personality and that grit to say, okay, this is the problem. We identify this problem. What can we change and what can't we change? And what can we get out of this? Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'm part of the Entrepreneurs Organization in South Africa, and obviously in all around the world, the tourism industry has been decimated by this thing. Like literally inconceivable that the whole industry can literally come to a dead halt so instantaneously, and there's no one who could ever predict in the whole world. And already we've got one of our very enterprising ladies who had a whole couple of backpackers, and she's won awards in that. And she's converted them into, literally within a matter of a week, to accommodation for nurses and medical people who need to be able to go somewhere after their shifts because they don't want to go home and risk taking the virus to their families.
Oh, wow.
The most unbelievable thing. And she's got into funding with it because she obviously wants to provide it. She obviously wants to cover costs in that, I assume. I haven't got the details from her, but combination of funding and as a commercial operation. So, yeah, the people who are quick in their feet. Another one I got a mate who's got a place in the Midlands. And I said to him, Bud, I think this is it. You can provide a place for people like me to go to, because when I looked at this before the lockdown, if I wanted to inoculate myself, my biggest problem is where could I go in quarantine and not risk exposing anyone else? And my operation where I live on the farm, I've got too many staff around me and my office is in the house, etc. So I wanted to get away, and I thought, shit, his whole family has just got coronavirus. They've all recovered now perfectly, by the way. They hardly even got into bed during the period. So there's another wonderful story to share. As there are millions and millions, hundreds of thousands of others. But I said, but you're now immune to this. Your family won't get it. You can actually host people there, either to quarantine, or you can host people who are frail and are immune impaired to come and stay in your resort because they know they're not going to get the coronavirus from yourself. So yeah, AJ, 100% correct. People got to pivot to look at the new reality, and where do they go from there? Because right now he doesn't have a tourism business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it, Allan.
No, I was just going to say it's the same with the events business. The events business is just like, completely shut down. Nobody can do events. Nobody can run events. And so a lot of us have obviously immediately shifted to online events. I'm going to be part of an online event this weekend that's taking place in South Africa. It was supposed to be an in-person event, but it's going to continue as an online event. So, and it'll be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and there's going to be speakers from all over the world really that are going to be part of this summit. But that's another industry that's just completely shut down, because people they can't go to events. Events have all been cancelled.
I was going to. That was going to be my next question to you. Is in your guys' business now, for people that don't know, you speak on stages all around the world and help people with whatever problems they might have. And I was going to ask you now, from here, not only now, but I also imagine from now onwards, there might be a change in your industry and how it's going to be done in the future, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think there'll be a lot more. I think there'll be a lot more online events. Even once, if we ever get back to normal again. But I'm sure that we'll kind of get things will kind of go back to some kind of semblance of normal at some point. But obviously there will be long-lasting changes, long-lasting effects of this whole thing, and people will change the way they do business. I think a lot more people will do online. Online learning has been growing for the longest time already. It's massive. People learning from home and attending webinars and attending online trainings, etc. But I think summits, large summits, I think they probably will continue to some capacity, to some degree, because it makes it easier for people to attend a summit from the comfort of their own home. They don't have to travel. They don't have to stay in a hotel for the weekend. Speakers don't have to travel. It reduces costs in all kinds of ways. But yeah, I think the events industry is going to be changed somewhat significantly.
Yeah.
But again, I think also at the same time, when we get back to normal, I think the the attraction of attending a live event is still going to be high because people love to connect and they love to connect in person. Connection, I think what people are recognizing, when you look at what's happening on social media, you look at all the positives and all the inspirational stories that are coming out of this and all the benefits that have unfolded already. There's so many benefits that have come from this already. The highest has to be connection, when people they're really recognizing the value of connection. There's more people doing, video calls with their families than ever before. There's families coming together on video chat, and having, they can't be in the same room at the same time, but they're all having dinner at the same time from the comfort of their own home while they're on the phone to each other, in a group chat. It's been really great to see that kind of thing unfolding.
I see there's an app I've been invited to a couple of times called House Party, which I think I was up before this thing, but you can have a house party with a bunch of mates. I mean, it's novel. I haven't tried it yet. It sounds interesting. Yeah,
well, I've got some friends of mine here in London and that are top music DJs and that have played all the top clubs around the world in Ibiza and everywhere. And they've been, playing music just regularly, just getting together online, 3 or 4 of them at the same time and just and streaming it live across Facebook and playing tunes. And it's been great, because if you want to sit at home and just, take your mind off all the pressure that's, all the uncertainty, you just can tune into one of these live streams and listen to some good tunes.
I don't know if you guys have seen Art Matthews did a show. He's got a house in Hart Bay, and I've actually been to his house before. It's like the one part of it's like a castle with little turrets, and he did a show last week, and it was incredible. I just managed to be online at the time, and he was jamming, him and his girlfriend filming with the laptop. It was fantastic. And he asked people to pledge money, and whatever they pledge, half of it will go to struggling artists. So it went so well that I've seen something now that he's going to redo it now this week, depending weather in Cape Town, obviously, because you don't know what's going to happen with the weather. So he's going to do it again, and it's fantastic. Again, new ideas now. You said in the beginning, we're resilient as humans. Now all of a sudden we make plans and other things will start evolving.
Yeah. Actually, somebody sent me a clip of Art doing that from his Hart Bay home, and sent me on a WhatsApp. And it sounded beautiful. The way the music was just echoing across the valley. It sounded amazing, and everyone. And there was, I saw different people, in their homes outside listening, and just really enjoying it. I mean, that must have been amazing. There's another beautiful lady, Melissa Etheridge, who's a Grammy Award-winning artist. Some people may know the name. More probably people my kind of age. But she's a fantastic musician, fantastic songwriter. She's been playing a live set from her home in California every single day since lockdown started in America. And I think she's on like day 15 or something like that now. And she's been playing, just sitting in her home in California, playing her guitar and just talking and singing. And she's such a great artist, man. It's been awesome. I shared a couple of them on my timeline on Facebook. So there's so many people that are just really connecting with each other online. You look at the countries that are supporting each other, countries that before COVID-19 were kind of, sworn enemies really, and didn't really have a good connection or a good affiliation. And yet now they're reaching across borders and saying, hey, we got those supplies for you. We support you and those with that. It's been really good to see that, man. It's been so beautiful to see the compassion and the love and the connection.
So just to get back, something that I remembered from Art now. So he was playing, and he said something like, someone shouted, "Do you want beer?" He says, "No, just send biltong." And he sang 2 songs, and not a word of a lie. A neighbor with a drone came across with the drone and dropped a bag of biltong on Art. Like, boom, Art's girlfriend took the biltong off. That was fantastic, man.
Amazing, man. And isn't that's so awesome, man? So it reminds me, someone said about drones, they'll probably start using drones to drop medicine,
Yeah.
But isn't that cool, man? Wow.
And amazing. So, guys, I think this was fantastic. Is there, Nick, any closing down remarks? I think this was amazing.
Yeah, I think for me, we've touched on it a couple of times, and I'm not sure we've even put enough emphasis on it. I think the positivity that people got to try and keep and stay away from all the negatives. Don't bloody go watch Sky News I think there's so much anxiety. Anxiety breeds fear. Fear breeds bloody ill health. Really, at the end of the day, you can make yourself sick without anything even going wrong to you. And
absolutely, man.
I'm trying to pass just positive stuff on and hopeful stuff on, and not because I'm pretending the other shit's not there, because I think it actually overpowers other stuff. And I think that people are losing sight of all the positives that are coming up. And you guys just touched on some things now. You know, the body reacts badly to fear and stress. And I'll tell you, in the first couple of days of this, you know, I've got quite a few businesses, and I started having, and I'm not an anxious person. I've got to say that I've done a lot of bloody difficult things in my life, and I've always prided myself, my head being quite strong. And I actually felt a bit anxious about this thing. And I looked at it and I realized, shit, this is not me. This is not the way I am. And so I thought, if I'm feeling like this, how on earth are those anxious people that I know actually coping up with this thing? And I think they're sitting at home watching this crap and this negativity, and they must be terrified. And I think that they've got to get away from it and literally shut down their social media, shut down the podcast like this if they have to. Although, no, ours is good because it's positive. But yeah, just go look for the good news, man. Go look for the good news and be happy, and prepare your body and be strong and do all the right things. And you know, it's all going to be okay. Yeah. Everything is going to be fine.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's I agree with that. That's a good piece of advice there, Nick. You know, you said a few things there, and you know, people don't realize that sometimes anxiety, it can just, you can pass it on by vibration, you know, because we are vibrational beings, you know. So if you're not actually exercising your own positive mindset on a regular basis, if you're not doing your, you know, if you haven't got like a mental routine that you do every morning, or a routine that strengthens your own emotional resolve, you know, then what's going to happen is you're going to be much more susceptible to the anxiety that's being vibrated from other people, because, you know, emotions are vibrations, and we can feel those emotions from other people. So if we haven't got something, just like AJ said just now, you know, you're standing guard at the door of your mind. Jim Rohn used to say that. He used to say you must stand guard at the door of your mind. You mustn't allow any negative idea or thought or vibration, which is what emotion and thought is a vibration. You mustn't allow that into your own mind, because what happens is, if you allow it into your own mind, it can take root very, very quickly. And before you know it, you're questioning yourself. And next minute, before you know it, you've got anxiety, you know, or you're feeling very, very, you know, you're feeling fearful. And that can impact, just like you said, Nick, it has a very, very adverse impact on the human system and the human body. You know, you said about being happy. You know, that's the most important thing. You know, I say to people all the time, your most important thing that you came here on this earth to do was be happy and enjoy life, you know, and anything that makes you unhappy, you need to get rid of that ASAP. Any idea or any question in your own mind that unnerves you, you know, you need to change that question immediately to something that really makes you feel, you know,
and the wonderful thing, the most wonderful thing, Allan, I know you're a fan of John Keogh, amongst other things. You've done much more of this sort of stuff than I, but John Keogh, Mind Power, is something that changed my life literally in an unbelievable way. And it's actually not hard. So even recognizing negative thoughts and anxiety, it's fine. You can have them there, and you can start saying positive affirmations. Not even believe a thing that you're telling yourself, but you repeat something often enough, it comes true. And if someone wants to use the next 2 weeks really well in South African lockdown time periods, go and study Mind Power and go realize how easy it is to turn negative into positive and train your mind to be positive. It's an incredible thing. And you'll find that this coronavirus actually had a purpose for you, and you're going to come out of this incredibly strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. It definitely is a deeper purpose. There's a deeper purpose for everything. You know, I was just this morning I was preparing something that I'm doing, that I'm going to be sharing on the South African Summit that's taking place this weekend, about spiritual psychology. You know, if you look at the principles of spiritual psychology, it says that everything is part of our own spiritual curriculum. You know, every challenge we face is an opportunity to climb the rung, to climb up to the next rung on our own personal ladder of spiritual evolution. What we're facing right now is a great opportunity for us to raise our global consciousness, you know, the human race. We're recognizing the more important things of being alive, you know, material possessions, you know, making money, you know, building massive businesses, you know, sure, those are great, right? Those are great goals to have, but we must remember those are goals of the ego. And the ego self that we've all been taught to buy into, the ego self says that who I am is what I own. Who I am is what you think of me. Who I am is what I've accomplished. Who I am is what I've achieved. And none of those things are real. You know, that's not the real answer to the question, who am I? You know, who am I is much bigger than all of that. It's much deeper. There's much deeper meaning. And everything is about your spiritual evolution, because there's a much deeper purpose for being alive. You know, there's no accidents. Energy is infinite. You can't create it. You can't destroy it. It always was. It always is. It always will be. And we are part of that energy. So we have to really ask ourselves all the time, individually and collectively, you know, what am I here to do? Who am I, and what is my life really about? What's the deeper aspect of my life, the deeper meaning for my life? And how can I make sure that while I'm here, I'm serving humanity as a whole? It's not just about me, because that's what the ego is all about, is I. And we got to really transfer that to we consciousness. And that's what's happening right now. If you see that the I consciousness that has always been around, you know, is now, it's being pushed across to we consciousness, and people are saying, okay, how can I help? How can I reach out? How can I serve? You know, how can I serve my community? And so just like Napoleon Hill said in his book, Think and Grow Rich, every adversity has within it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. And people say, well, every adversity? Yeah, every single adversity, no matter how dire it's been, no matter how dire it ever will be, no matter how severe, no matter how intense or painful, there's always a benefit, and there's always lots of benefits when you look. So there's lots of benefits from this, and we've got to hold fast to that, like you said, and we've got to find the joy in this experience, you know. And you can only do that when you ask yourself the more important questions, you know, what is my life about, and how can I make sure that I'm serving myself and the people around me at the highest level? Because that's what spiritual evolution is all about. So
yes, well, guys, I have to say, I'm sitting here thinking the old story, you become the 5 people you spend the most time with, and if I have to count you 2 in my 5, I'm a pretty fucking lucky guy. So thank you so much. It was a great chat, and we might even do it again before this whole thing stops.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, thank you. I'll reflect that back to you, my friend. You know,
yeah, ditto.
It's thanks for inviting me onto this call, Nick. It's been great to meet you here on this.
Yeah, you too, Allan.
On my screen, and get to know you. I look forward to meeting you in person when I come to South Africa for a visit.
Goodbye,
yeah,
Sonia.
I look forward to
Where's
connecting
Sonia?
probably.
Where's Sonia?
Yeah, I will.
Where's Sonia?
I'll bring her.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
Cheers,
All right,
guys.
guys.
Thanks a lot.
Adios.
Stay blessed.
Cheers. Bye.